Welcome to At Issue, a special summer edition of At Issue, because we have an extremely important topic to talk about, and that is changes at the Pere Marquette and Courtyard hotels. Management changes at the Courtyard just opened, and Gary Matthews has agreed to talk to us along with two other individuals directly involved with that. And let me introduce to you first the city manager of the city of Peoria, Patrick Urich. Of course, Patrick, you are here because the city has a financial investment in the hotel.
Hi, H. Thank you for having us.
And on my left, your right, as we speak, Gary Matthews. Gary is the president of EM Properties. Thank you again for being on the program. You were here about 2 years ago when you first started this project.
Thank you for having me.
And Joe LaMonaco. Joe is the managing director of both the Pere Marquette and the Courtyard. And you most recently were in Oklahoma City. We'll talk a little bit about that later on, but thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely.
And for those of you that recognize him and say, what do you mean Oklahoma City? Yes, he was the general manager at the Embassy Suites in East Peoria prior to moving to Oklahoma City. So welcome back to Peoria.
Glad to be back.
Let's just start with how are things? You've been open 2.5 weeks, something like that, the Courtyard, 13 months at the pier. How are you doing?
So far, so good. I have my dream team now, so I expect great things to happen.
There's a grimace over here. Mm-hmm. You're putting pressure on Joe. So far, so good means what?
Well, anytime you open a hotel, let alone a hotel that's linked to another hotel that's been open, you certainly should consider there's going to be some glitches. And we've had a few, but none of them too serious. So I'm quite pleased, and so far, where we are.
And so far, where are we in terms of booking? Because from the start, we wanted this, or I shouldn't say we, but the city's investment, and Gary wanted this to be an investment for the benefit of the Civic Center as well as the hotels. Where are we with regard to conventions?
We are going through what was put on the books by the previous company, Marriott. So we need to finalize what they had in their reservation systems, what they had on the books. As we get through that, we're almost done. We're getting a feel for what has already been signed contractually, which then allows us to look at our inventory as well as the space and to move forward with that.
Do you have conventions? I mean, how full is the hotel and the Civic Center going to be?
Sure. The goal for the hotel will be in the high 70s, low 80s once we get moving with everything. We have some conventions coming in August, which we're very excited about. We'll be working with the Civic Center. But from there, it's a daily effort. A sales team gets together, catering team gets together. We look at everything that's out there. We visit who we need to visit, and we move forward from there.
When you say 70%, you're referring to the occupancy rate?
The entire occupancy, right.
Okay.
Yeah. During the week, we'll probably be sold out Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Mondays. Weekends will fluctuate, but by the end of the month, as a mean average, we're looking at high 70s, low 80s.
Is that profitable?
It's profitable, but I'd like more. And that's the one thing about when you're very confident in your brand, you're very confident in your management team, which I am now. I have very high expectations, but you have to keep in mind that when there's an event or anything else that creates any other business for rooms and that, it takes a while to get it on the books. I mean, nobody plans an event a week from now. They plan it 6 months, a year, whatever the need is. So yeah, I think we've got a good start, and I think we've got a good future.
Several weeks ago, you stood before the council and said, I want you to approve the change in management team. You had an agreement with Marriott Corporation. You wanted to switch to First Hospitality Group, FHG, but that required some city council approval. And I want to turn to Patrick in just a moment, but first, why the change to FHG?
FHG has a very good record on areas like Peoria. They have a very good record with their brands, Marriott, Hilton, all the others. I researched many others, but I narrowed it down to FHG because they're not exactly local, but they're in Chicago, which is not too far away, which is a plus for me. I narrowed it down to the principals that I talk with that owning the company, their philosophy on how a hotel complex like this should come about, and They also listened to my ideas, and they almost implemented just about all of them, and that's what I was in favor of.
They are based in suburban Chicago, Rosemont, I believe.
Correct.
And so you mentioned proximity, they're local relative to Marriott, which is Washington, D.C. based. But yet you have a hotel across the river, the Fairfield in East Peoria, that uses Concord, and Concord is Raleigh, North Carolina based. That's further away than D.C.
Well, Concord is a much larger company, that's true. Larger doesn't make them better, though. The other thing is the Fairfield that I have in East Peoria is a special service. It doesn't have the same components that we need in this project. It doesn't have private events. It's just room revenue. That's it. So I'm not saying Concord doesn't do full service. It's just that I thought FHG really looked a lot better in the areas that I was looking in.
What was your take, Patrick, with regard to his presentation before the council, asking for the change in management, knowing that the city has a $7 million loan, and how much in bonds, 28?
We issued $29 million in a project grant that was part of the project. You know, the city's commitment from the very beginning was to try and make sure that we fulfilled the goal of civic center authorities in the city in the past, which was to have a connected civic center hotel, a conference hotel that could be tied to the civic center, and we've achieved that. So we've made a significant investment. It's great to hear that Joe's target is the high 70s, low 80s, because that means that the bonds would get repaid. We predicated our bond repayment on numbers that were more in the 60s, so we're pleased to hear that. That's great to hear. The importance that I think that Mr. Matthews just mentioned about the management change is important. To have a firm that knows the local market, with Joe having the background of being here in the market is incredibly important to know how to work in Peoria. And I think that we did take some time. The council deferred taking any action until we knew that all of the other lenders were ready to go with the change, and they had approved it, and then we were the last one in, and we made that a conscious decision. We wanted to make sure that everyone else that does this on a regular basis and looks at these types of things on a regular basis and managing real estate was doing that. And it worked out really well, I think, from that perspective. Gary came to the meeting and did a very nice job of presenting the issues and answering the questions for council. We also had meetings with individual council members where we talked about the importance of the management change. And I think that we built in some conditions that will be prudent for everyone that's involved and will help us as we look at the project going forward.
For instance, condition like?
There were several. I think that we had 6 conditions that we put on that included no distributions to any of the member companies while the mortgage that we have a $7 million mortgage, is outstanding. That there'll be no fees paid out to any of those firms without our approval. That there will be monthly management reports and monthly financial reports that will be distributed with us, that they'll share the business plan with us as going forward so that we could see that. Those were the kind of conditions that we put in place. They're reasonable conditions that any other lender might request of a borrower. And we're very pleased that the project is now, that the courtyard is open. That was our primary goal. The city really, as we talked about it with the council, we made the recommendation with 4 primary goals in mind. 1, that we have both hotels open. 2, that we have a solid management team in place, and we felt very confident that FHG is a solid management company. 3, that we put in reasonable controls going forward. And 4, that we preserve our rights as a lender. And as a lender, we feel that we are. So we're very pleased with that.
Joe, Gary earlier mentioned Dream Team. I'm going to say green team, not from management point of view, but from staff. That courtyard has a lot of inexperience in it. How are you going to overcome that in the early going?
We have shared services. So both hotels will actually share the same management team. So although it's green, as you say, it's actually a team of highly experienced managers with probably 30+ years experience. So myself, Mary Jo, the new AGM F&B John, with FHG's help, Jeff McClintock. There's just a whole bunch of people with a whole lot of years of experience. So we're not as green as you might think. The hotel is green and some of the staff is green.
And that's what I'm referring
Sure,
to.
but the management team is pretty
bistro.
seasoned. Bistro, which everyone should come and see. It's a great eatery. We love the bistro.
But everyone's green there.
Everyone's green, but everyone's green at some point. At some point, everyone has to start new somewhere. But with the management and the level of years of service that we have, we can help guide them through that process. They'll do very well. But the bistro is fantastic, and everyone should come see it.
Did you want to say something about Table 19?
I was going to say that too.
We're doing a promo here, but let's talk about the parking deck because it was the first item to open. You've got the connector now to the Civic Center, but that first floor of the parking deck sits empty. Now there are rumors on the street that there's a pizza place that wants to come in there. When's that going to happen?
Well, I'm asked those questions all the time in development, and I never give dates or times because there's so many other issues that come about that you don't expect them to happen. I'd like to see it come about very soon. I'm very, very encouraged with the response that we had so far in our solicitations for leasing in there. So, it just takes time, and it takes time to get the economics worked out, what the cost of the construction is going to be. I would say that if I had my wish, it would be early next year. But that doesn't mean early next year that necessarily we open. There's a great deal of construction involved in that area because
it's just a shell right now.
It's just a shell, exactly.
So can you share with us who it might be?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about money. The newspaper had the Morton Community Bank has gone to court on 3 different occasions. I believe the money was $10 million total on properties, not hotel properties, but properties in Tazewell County. Might that impact the operation of the pier and the courtyard?
No.
Are there any possibilities of any other suits of any kind, financial suits of any kind, in another county or in Tazewell County that might impact the pier?
I'm not going to make comments on what could be in the future. Developers live with this, and I don't publicly give news out that, in my opinion, is not accurate or that is highly suspect. So I have no comments on that.
Okay. Let's talk about the relationship with the Civic Center. And I want to, as a preface to that, you were in Oklahoma City.
I was.
And you worked at the Renaissance.
I did.
Which was connected to the Civic Center in Oklahoma City.
It was the city's convention center hotel connected to the Civic Center.
So you had a special arrangement, and rather than me try to explain that, would you explain how your staff sold a portion of the Civic Center for meetings?
Correct. So we had a 20-year contract with the Oklahoma City to manage the meeting space of the Civic Center. It was 120,000 square feet of space. That was just for ballroom, pre-function, things of that nature. The facility also had an expo center as well as an arena. So we had the ability to sell into all of that. We had a 24-month cycle, which meant we could sell into any of that space within 24 months. Outside of the 24 months, we worked with the city and SMG through a council of 3, as we called it. And any pieces of business that were outside of the 24 months, we would look at, we'd talk about, and if the council was okay with it, we would book. So there was a safety mechanism so that we would not just fill up the space with maybe pieces of business down the road that might not make sense. Because sometimes salespeople get aggressive and they just want to put something in the space. So that allowed us to look at each piece of business and to evaluate it. The company SMG, just like here in Peoria, were the manager of the entire facility. So they were in charge of the HVAC systems, they were in charge of the meeting space cleanliness, any of the maintenance issues, things of that nature. But what SMG does, and they do it very well, was booking the entertainment and the sports groups.
So you, not maybe didn't manage, but you took care of meeting space for them. Might that extend, because they're both SMG properties, you have some experience, might that extend to a portion of this Civic Center in Peoria?
It is a common model throughout the United States. It's not just in Oklahoma City. You'll find with a lot of Civic Centers throughout the United States that hotels that are convention hotels that are connected to those facilities do work in tandem with SMG. And there are many facilities throughout the country that that relationship mimics what we did in Oklahoma City.
Is that something that you might be looking at in hopes that that might help coordinate business?
Yes. I think we need to get an awful lot of other things straightened around in the project that we have so far, but I think it's a pretty interesting concept. But it all depends on whether it works for the city, for the Civic Center, and all of those components. But it does sound like a very interesting possibility.
You said there are a couple of things you want to get straight first before you do that. What are some of the things that need, and I know you've got a new hotel, brand new, the Courtyard, but what are some of the things that need to be addressed?
Well, I want to make sure, after we've only been open a week and a half in the Courtyard, I want to make sure that we can honor the commitments that we already have on the books for any of the events, any of the public events. We need to make sure that we're on schedule for all of those. So, you know, I haven't really entertained any of these. It certainly sounds interesting to me. Actually, when I first interviewed Joe, I asked him about that. And it does sound like it's a possibility, but ultimately it's going to be up to the city and SMG.
What's the city's role in that?
Well, I think that's music to my ears, and I think that for members of the council and members of the Civic Center Authority, that's probably music to their ears too. We've been having numerous discussions over the last several years about the role of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the role of the Civic Center, and the importance of making sure that that Civic Center was being utilized. It can be profitable and be open a third of the year. And that's not in the interest of the city, nor is it in the interest of the hotel, nor is it in the interest of downtown. I think that what we want to see in the businesses that are downtown, what we have said and what I have been saying for the last 3 years is that we want to see that the Civic Center is being utilized. And if the team at the Marriott can help to sell that space in the Civic Center, that's incredible, that's great.
Let's talk about the downtown, because you, when I say you, the city has $36 million, about $36 million invested, but you did it for a reason, and that is you wanted to make sure the downtown as a whole, and this was a linchpin to that, but the downtown as a whole is vibrant. So let's talk about the Madison Theater.
Yes, we have been in an extended negotiation period currently between the owners of the Madison Theater and the development group that consists of Jim Gruby and Katie Kim and the Farnsworth group that have been working together to look at a redevelopment proposal for the Madison Theater block. So they're in the discussions about the price and the purchase price, the land acquisition price, and how they can come to that. And we've extended that for another period of time. The proposal would be a mixed-use development. It's pretty neat in terms of what they're looking at trying to incorporate in there with street front retail and a renovation of the theater itself. And if we can get that accomplished, that connected to the right next to the Marriott Hotel would be incredibly important to have. Now 2 blocks, now you're starting to see that development is spreading out. It's moving out beyond just that initial investment that the city made in the Marriott block.
In the parking lot next to this Madison?
This would be the parking lot next to the Madison. Okay. So we'd see vertical construction going up there with a building going up there. Okay. So.
And the hotel that some would say is competition, it's closed right now, it's the 4 Points by Sheraton. Do you hope to see that open?
Yes, we would like that open. We feel then we would have another category of events, conventions, conferences, if we had an additional 300 rooms. And we would view this as a positive direction for us and our success.
And you If you're going to sell as a convention hotel, you want to sell conventions into that civic center, along with the Convention Visitors Bureau, et cetera. But
Sure.
you want to sell that, so you really need 4 Points.
We need the inventory. In order for us to compete with the Quad City, Springfield, markets like that, we need 1,000 rooms or more to be able to use the Civic Center as well as the inventory and to be competitive within the state. So we do need that, yes.
Insight on the status of the 4 Points.
Well, we'll be meeting with the management team from the 4 Points next week. We'll be having that conversation with them, where we'll be discussing what their plans are. They've been working on the roof. They've been working on the mechanical systems. They have some elevator work that they have to do, and they're trying to touch every room inside the hotel. The plans that they put together, that they have submitted to the Community Development Department, look great. So now it's just the execution side of working off of those plans and making sure that they get it done, hopefully fast.
No timetable?
There's no, I don't think that they've given us an official timetable. I know they have a date posted on the hotel property itself, but I'm not sure that that's going to be met. So it's probably, I would think, early 2015 we'd be looking at something.
Business. The business person comes in basically Monday through Wednesday. As a matter of fact, you're on the council floor, and your hotel in East Peoria does quite well Monday through Wednesday.
It's a very good hotel Monday through Wednesday. It's a business hotel traveler, so to speak. But we also feel we're going to have that same factor with the Marriott Full Service and Courtyard.
So how do you balance convention business and your business person that wants, every time they come to town, they want to stay at the pier or the Courtyard, and they're comfortable there, and then all of a sudden there's a convention. So how do you balance that?
Well, we don't give all of the inventory to a group. What we do is we put aside so much for the business traveler, the BT traveler as we call it. So say in our property we'd do a 70-30 mix. So 70% of the group would have most of the inventory, 30% would be safeguarded for our business travelers who are coming into the city every week. So they would have somewhere to go. The worst thing you would do is to displace business travelers who enjoy coming to the property. You don't want to do that.
So that's why it's all the more important to have the 4 Points open up for convention business.
It's extremely important for us to have that inventory, yes.
And then what about the leisure traveler? You, of course, on weekends and over at the Fairfield, or the Sleep Inn in Washington, which you own, you want to get the leisure traveler. Are you looking at leisure travel people for the pier?
Yes.
Or maybe I should say, you're looking for anybody that wants to stay overnight.
Well, I think what's going to surprise a lot of people, and I really welcome people to come in for tours, is we have a lap pool that is pretty impressive in the Courtyard. This certainly attracts the leisure traveler. I remember when my children were much smaller, and even last weekend I was with my grandchildren. They love the swimming pool, and so the swimming pool is a very good attraction for that. So the leisure traveler is someone that probably makes their plans a little shorter than the business traveler, but we think we can really become, a good focal hotel project with the swimming pool. We have the Table 19, of course, in the Marriott Full Service. We have the Bistro in the Courtyard. I think our project's about as family friendly as you could ever expect.
Patrick, how critical is the success of this paired hotel to what the city, you invested $36 million. How critical is it to making sure downtown is a new downtown, not a stretch of bars that say open till 4?
It's vitally important. It's vitally important that we see that we have a mix of business travelers, leisure travelers, that we have a growing number of residential properties downtown. That's vital. The council has discussed this. It's been a goal of theirs for a number of years to see that we have a vibrant, active downtown and warehouse district, and the hotel is a critical part of that. It's very important that the Pier Marquette is solid, strong, and open and going forward. So we're really pleased to see that both hotels are open and that we're moving down that path.
And you're confident that your dream team, as you call them, is going to get the ball rolling?
I'm very confident. We already think that because the dream team that we have are very familiar with our area. That's a very critical component in this. You can try to teach people from out of town a little bit about this community, but if they've lived it, then it works.
And I want to say thank you to Patrick Urich, the city manager of the city of Peoria, and to Joe LaMonaco, who is the managing director of both the Pere Marquette and the Courtyard Hotel in downtown Peoria. Thank you for joining us on that issue. And again to Gary Matthews, who is the president of EM Properties. Thank you so much for sharing here on At Issue.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you joining us for this special edition, a summer edition of At Issue. We'll be back in September with a whole new season. Please join us in September for more At Issues.